I'm Micah Smith with Denver 7, and welcome to Denver Decides. This community partnership is dedicated to accessible and transparent elections. The partnership includes the League of Women Voters of Denver, Inter-Neighborhood Cooperation, and is presented by Denver 8 TV. Before we begin, we would like to extend a special thank you to our hosts for today's event, the Cherry Creek North Neighborhood Association and the 6th Avenue United Church of Christ. Our mission today is to present a ballot issue forum in anticipation of the general election coming up on Tuesday, November 5th. Among the numerous amendments and ordinance questions on this year's ballot is initiated Ordinance 308. This measure asks if Denver voters should adopt an ordinance prohibiting fur products and the manufacture, distribution, display, sale, or trade of certain animal fur products. Let's begin by meeting the participants who will discuss the pros and cons of initiated Ordinance 308. Beginning at my right is Natalie Fulton. She is the spokesperson with Pro Animal Future. She will be speaking in favor of initiated Ordinance 308. And to my left is Landon Gates, campaign manager with Hands Off My Hat, and he will be speaking in opposition to initiated Ordinance 308. Let's welcome both of our speakers. We will begin with 1-minute opening statements from both speakers. Ms. Fulton, you are up first, speaking for initiated Ordinance 308.
308 is an important step toward ending the cruel, unnecessary, and outdated practice of killing animals just to wear their fur. 95% of fur comes from factory farms where wild animals like mink, rabbits, and foxes spend their entire lives trapped in cages barely larger than their bodies. Every fall, they're gassed or anally electrocuted to preserve the product. Fur trapping is no better, with animals stuck in painful traps for days before they're bludgeoned or starved to death. All this for a vain fashion statement that only rich people can afford. 71% of Americans oppose killing animals for their fur. It's banned in over 25 countries and many cities across the U.S., including Boulder. Most voters I talk to are shocked that it's even still allowed to be sold in Denver and can't wait to vote against such egregious animal cruelty. Despite all this serious animal abuse, the best the opposition can muster is to complain about high-end cowboy hats.
And now the opening statement from Mr. Gates, speaking against ballot-initiated Ordinance 308.
Thank you. Thank you to the Inter-Neighborhood Cooperation and the League of Women Voters of Denver for hosting this event and allowing the Hands Off My Hat campaign to participate. This ban seems simple on its face, but in reality, it is an attack on our Western heritage, our traditions, and our city's brand. This measure goes so far as to ban the sale of many cowboy hats and fly fishing flies that use real fur, in addition to the many other items Denverites wear today. From custom hat makers to the local fly shop, this measure will impact many small businesses in our city. This measure will harm some of Denver's most iconic events, including the National Western Stock Show, the Denver March Powwow, and the Indian Market and Southwest Arts Fest. Our campaign has been endorsed by Ernest House Jr., a member of the Ute Mountain Ute Indian Tribe and former executive director of the Colorado Commission on Indian Affairs, along with Councilwoman Jamie Torres, Senator Robert Rodriguez, former Mayor Wellington Webb, and former Councilwoman Rosemary Rodriguez, among many others.
We have heard opening statements from both of you, so now, Natalie, you have an opportunity to ask Landon a question, and Landon, you'll have 30 seconds to respond. Natalie, your question.
The website for your campaign has co-opted images of Native Americans to argue against banning fur, despite the fact that 308 specifically includes an exemption for members of Native American tribes. Given that the fur trade was a major driver of colonialism and the #1 threat to indigenous ways of life in many regions, why are you tokenizing Native Americans to protect an industry that mostly benefits rich corporations?
Look, this measure discriminates against many Native Americans. The measure requires that an individual be a member of a tribe in order to qualify for the exemption. Many Native Americans today are not official members of tribes. Are you intending to require Native Americans to carry papers to prove their membership? Are you intending for someone to police the purchases to make sure that the item they're buying is going to qualify for one of the allowed uses? It appears that this group is the one that wants to decide who is Native American enough
Okay. Now, Landon, you do have an opportunity to ask Natalie a question, and Natalie, you'll have 30 seconds to reply.
Great. Did you do an economic study on how this measure will financially affect the Native American community, the National Western Stock Show, and small business owners? And if so, what were the results of that study?
In the modern world, killing animals for fur is always cruel and unnecessary. As far as the Western Stock Show, most vendors there don't even sell fur, and many people I talk to are shocked that it's even part of the conversation. They will be completely fine, as well as the other stores that sell fur, like Neiman Marcus and Louis Vuitton. I don't think they're going to be going out of business. We crafted the Native American exemption with the help of Kayla Begay, a community organizer and member of the Navajo Nation. Fur factory farming disrespects wildlife, which is why many Native Americans in Denver support 308.
And let's continue with the direct questions from our speakers for another round. Landon, you will start off this round. Another question for Natalie. And as before, Natalie, you'll have 30 seconds to reply.
Great. Your campaign's financial disclosures suggest that your campaign is largely funded by a secret dark money group, Pro Animal Future, that doesn't disclose its donors. Will you commit to disclosing all of Pro Animal Denver's and Pro Animal Future's donors to the clerk today, just like the rest of us have to?
Pro Animal Future is a local grassroots group with over 150 volunteers in Denver. Calling us a dark money group is absolutely unhinged, especially considering that the opposition on our measures is funded by big corporations who have a vested interest in preserving industries that abuse animals. I am not the funding person. I will try my best to get all of the funding out in the open so people can stop attacking us with this ridiculous claim.
And now, Natalie, another question for Landon. Landon, you'll have 30 seconds for your response.
Modern technology has made it completely unnecessary to kill animals for fur. The fur industry is environmentally devastating, much worse than faux fur, since the animals eat and emit waste. Today, fur products are unnecessary luxuries, and polling shows most voters agree that it's time to leave fur behind. Do you think animals are objects, or do you just not care that they suffer?
I grew up on my grandparents' ranch. I know what it takes to raise and care for animals. But this ban discriminates, it hurts our local businesses, and sends an unwelcome message to the thousands of attendees, exhibitors, and vendors at the stock show, the powwow, and the Indian market. Think about it. The National Western Stock Show generates $171 million in annual economic activity. Our fly fishing community generates $500 million in economic activity and supports nearly 3,300 jobs right here in the Denver metro area.
Thank you, Landon. Our next few rounds will feature our speakers responding to questions submitted by our forum organizers. Each speaker will answer each question, and they will have 30 seconds for their answer. Natalie Fulton, who is here speaking in favor of initiated Ordinance 308, you will be first to answer this question. If fur sales are banned in Denver, what would be the future of this issue?
We would like to see the fur industry end because it is cruel and unnecessary. It should be left in the past with other forms of animal abuse that used to be tradition, but we now look back on with horror. Dogfighting was legal in the U.S. until 1976. Whaling used to be part of our culture. As society evolves and morality evolves, our tradition should reflect that as well. There is absolutely no reason to use fur in 2024, and we need to move on from this vile industry.
And now Landon Gates, who is here speaking against initiated Ordinance 308, your response to the question.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yes. If fur sales are banned in Denver, what would be the future of this issue?
I don't think this measure is going to have the intended impact that the proponents are seeking. We don't have fur farming in Denver. We don't have fur farming in the state of Colorado. So I don't believe it's going to have near the impact that they claim.
Okay. Next question from our organizers for our guests. Landon, you will respond first, and you will have 30 seconds to answer. If this issue passes, it will have an economic impact on some of Denver's major cultural activities, including the National Western Stock Show, the Denver March Powwow, and many sport fishing activities. How could those cultural events be compensated for their losses?
They won't.
Did you want to expand upon that?
No.
Okay. And Natalie, your response to the question.
New technology has made fur completely unnecessary, even in fly fishing. Many fly fishers have adopted synthetic alternatives like EP fibers and craft fur, foam, tinsel, mylar, and rubber legs. They are comparable in terms of price and offer more durability and flexibility than animal fur. We may need to take a short economic hit to evolve past some of the worst animal cruelty that's happening in Denver. If you notice in his answer just now, he said that there is no fur farming in Colorado, which acknowledges that fur farming is wrong.
And our final round of submitted questions from our forum organizers. Natalie, you will respond first, and you'll have 30 seconds. Please indicate the top 2 financial contributors to your side of this issue.
I feel like we've covered this. I am not sure the top 2 contributors, but I can tell you that we are not funded by any out-of-state interest groups or corporations. This issue comes down to people who care about animals versus corporations. We got over 32,000 signatures on a completely volunteer basis. Our volunteers spent nights and weekends raising awareness about this issue, and voters in Denver are excited to vote against some of the worst animal cruelty that takes place in this city.
And now, Landon, your response to the question.
Great. We look forward to seeing your next financial disclosure. Our top 2 contributors to the No on 308 campaign is the National Western Stock Show, because they're going to be one of the entities that is greatly impacted by this. We have a number of other individuals, Stanton Dodge, Jeff Keller, community leaders that don't support this type of cancel culture. They respect our traditions, our heritage, and our culture. They know the importance of the National Western Stock Show and the powwow and the Indian market and other events.
Okay. And that brings us to the end of our questions. So now, on behalf of the forum organizers, we would like to thank both of you for your participation in this forum. All right. Hang out for just a moment. I have a little bit more to say. We hope we've given you a fair look at the pro and con arguments for initiated Ordinance 308. Again, this measure asks if Denver voters should adopt an ordinance prohibiting fur products and the manufacture, distribution, display, sale, or trade of certain animal products. Our thanks also to the Denver Decides partners, which include Interneighborhood Cooperation and the League of Women Voters of Denver. Denver Decides is presented by Denver 8 TV. We would like to extend a special thank you to our hosts for today's event, the Cherry Creek North Neighborhood Association and the 6th Avenue United Church of Christ. Remember, the election is Tuesday, November 5th. Let your voice be heard, be sure you are registered, and be sure to vote. For complete election information online, go to denverdecides.org. I'm Micah Smith with Denver 7. Thanks for joining us.